All right, guys, I am here with Wolfe Glick, the world champion of Masters Pokemon VGC right now. Welcome.
What's going on, guys? Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, man. Wow, dude. So we're catching up with each other a little bit later. It's been about, what, a week and a half or something like that?
Yeah, a little bit. That's actually like exactly how much, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, but since you became officially the best Pokemon player in the world or something like that, that's pretty crazy.
Yes.
So just to give you a little bit of quick background, Wolfe has been in the scene for quite some time. You were, 16 years old in 2012 when you were the...
I actually started back in 2011 when I was only 15. Yeah.
But 1 year later, you were the finalist in seniors at the time, right?
Yeah, that was actually after it became Masters. But yeah, that year, my second year playing, I actually got second at the World Championships in Hawaii, which was crazy.
I remember reading about that tournament back in the day. I'm a little bit older than you. I'm not gonna divulge exactly how much older, but I was very up on that tournament, and it was just like, oh, Hawaii, like destination World Championships.
It was so good.
Yeah, that had to be awesome. So that must have been pretty. I mean, it was a year in, so that's both encouraging and a little bit. You think about it probably a lot.
Yes, say the least.
Yeah, and then you didn't fully disappear, but you never really got into that last slot, and then finally this year you came back and blew everyone away.
Yeah, I mean, it was for me the journey was it was really incredible. Basically, I did have some strong finishes. Like 2014, I got 9th, and that was back when we had a top 8 cut. So with one of my opponents had done just a little bit better, maybe 1 or 2 more games, then I would have been the 8th seed and moving on. So I was close, but yeah, I was lacking that big breakout performance that I had in kind of 2012, and also I got 6th in 2011, so I was close then as well. But yeah, this year it's just been incredible. Honestly, it hasn't really even sunk in yet. I know it's been over a week at this point, but I still it just doesn't feel real to me yet.
How much is it? What is it actually like? This is kind of a weird question. What is it? What actually happens? Put me in your mindset. Put me in your in your brain. What happens after you win Masters?
It's this feeling of contentment where you were I remember sitting when I won, I just sat in the chair and I was like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe that I finally did this. I worked so hard for this for so long, and it was starting to feel for me kind of like it was not achievable, because I started off strong. I got 6th, which meant I top cut my first year. I got 2nd the next year, but ever since then, I felt like I hit this wall. I got 25th in 2013. Like I said, I got 9th in 2014 and 12th in 2015. So I was always 1 game away. Not in 2013, but the other years.
Did you feel like it was a curse thing, or did you feel like it was your own personal you were off? Do you feel like you? I
felt like I wasn't. Yeah, I felt like I. So for me, Pokemon is a game that has inherently some RNG, right? And so sometimes people,
so much, yeah.
Yeah, so oftentimes people say, "Oh, I lost because of bad luck." But for me, I always really strove to be just in general in my life, I always strive to be the best person that I can be and the best individual that I can be, and part of that applies to Pokemon. And so when I lost, I never wanted to blame luck. I always wanted to say I lost because my team was susceptible to luck, or I lost because I put myself in a situation where with a critical hit he could have won,
Right. I should have been more aggressive. I should have been more defensive.
Exactly.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I should have played better. And so for me it felt like I felt like I was a good player, but I felt like I wasn't playing my best at Worlds, and so I thought that maybe I had this mentality problem. And even honestly, day 1 of Worlds this year, when I went 6-0, I wasn't pleased with my play. I had a lot of really close games that could have gone either way, and I could feel that I wasn't playing up to my best, and I was worried that something about maybe the pressure or maybe the fact that I'd worked so hard, or maybe it was burnout, something was stopping me from performing at my best, and I was starting to feel even though online or in practice I could perform really well, something about being at Worlds was stopping me, and so it was so nice to finally overcome whatever that was.
So what about practically, what happens immediately after, when you walk off the stage? What happens? You get
I walked up the stage. Messages? Oh, dude, my phone, I can't even say. I think I got 100 messages in 5 minutes or something ridiculous. My phone went from 40% battery to 18 really fast.
Right.
But actually, yeah. So the process is I won. I signed the sheet, I got my stuff, and then I walked off stage, and all my my friends who and especially the guys who I'd built the team with, and the people who I was staying with, and my close friends, they all ran up and hugged me, and it was we were really happy. And then the staff were hey guys, let him go, he has to go, and they didn't let me go, and they're no, he has to go now. And so they went backstage and did an interview, and I wanted to do an interview. I was supposed to do an interview with the casters, because I interviewed with not one of the casters, like the girl who does like
the host. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, the host.
And they kind of know you a little bit better, right? All those casters.
I've known the casters for longer. I thought
Ray won when you got second.
Ray knocked me out twice. Yeah, in 2011 and 2012. And Aaron, of course, and I are like really great. All those guys, like Evan, Dwee, like all those guys are incredible. And so like I was really hoping I could talk to one of them in addition to the host, but like she did a great job. And they were just running out of time because the closing ceremony started at 5. So I did my interview. I kind of like stood around. I was like, oh, and then got ready for the closing ceremony. So that was the immediate aftermath.
What about like the next morning when you woke up? Were you just like, oh hell yeah?
Yeah, it's like I mean, it's like I said, it still hasn't totally sunk in. I think because and honestly, like okay, so I think what it is that like this is something that I've wanted so much, but I was kind of afraid to believe that like it could happen because it was like if I went in and I thought I'm gonna win this and then I didn't, like that's like a lot of disappointment because it's already something that I really wanted a lot.
You started to believe that you could actually do it again, and then if you didn't, you'd be like, damn,
exactly,
do it again.
Yeah, exactly. So like maybe it was like a protection, like a self-protecting measure or something. But basically like I woke up the next morning and I was like, oh, I'm so tired, and I got coffee with a friend, but it was like it's a friend of mine from high school who just happens to be like in he goes to Berkeley, so he was in that area, and we just like got coffee, and that was really cool. And yeah, I don't know, it's like. But yeah, I feel like it still hasn't. Like I know I've said it a bunch, but it hasn't quite sunk in yet. Like I still can't believe like what I was able to accomplish. Like I think part of that is just like when you want something for so long and you come so close so many times. Like when you finally do achieve that, it's kind of like, oh, like I'm not used to this. Like I'm used to being disappointed. I'm used to not having this. So
yeah, exactly. Like I always think about it like this. Like people always say, Pokemon, whatever. Like. Who cares about a game with so much RNG or something like that? But it doesn't matter. Like that is an element of the game, but in terms of like being the champ, like it shouldn't diminish it at all. Like look at Ray, right? Ray won 3 times.
Yes.
If it was pure luck, if it was purely based on luck and choosing one of the like 5 basic teams, right? Like, don't you think he would have not won 3 times?
Yes, and that's actually like I'm really glad you bring that up because for me, like every time that I got frustrated, like with myself, with the game, especially every time that I said this game sucks, like I'm not bad, the game is bad. I would take a step back and I would say, Wolf, how can you say that the game is like inherently dependent on RNG when we have a 3-time world champion? Doesn't that prove that if you are good enough, you can like the luck doesn't matter? Like doesn't that prove that? Like, and so for me, like having Ray as kind of like this role model and this example that it could be done was really important because I think I would have I think that like influenced my mentality a lot because it would have been so easy to say like oh, it's not me, it's the game, but like I had this like vision of Ray and I said, so I was like he did something, so like I want to get to at least his level.
So what is that thing? Like that's another there's 2 things I want to ask about. One is I want to ask about like what your like non-competitive like non-competition life is as a Pokemon quote-unquote pro.
Sure.
But then also I want to know about like, what is that thing that changes? Like, what do you think about you personally has changed from when you landed as just second runner-up to the champ, and like what separates that? What's like the thing that gets better about you? Like
yes.
And how do you cultivate that with like other people?
That's a hard question, but it's also really interesting. So basically, like I think for me, the biggest change that I've made over the years since 2012 is mentality and mindset. For me, like as a Pokemon player, and like as a competitive player, I think that your mentality and your mindset are so important because that like when you lose, you can say multiple things. You can say, oh, I lost because like I made a bad call, I lost because I got bad luck. But like at the end of the day, like it's really hard. Like okay, so Pokemon has been difficult for me. Not like in a way that like not in a bad way, but just like it's been a real challenge. Just because losing is very personal. Because my mentality has become one of you can win any game if you play well enough. And so whenever I lost a game, it was very personal because I lost because I was not good enough, and that was difficult. But I think
one-on-one game, it's like Street Fighter, where somebody like literally had to best you to win, so you feel personally defeated. Yeah, exactly,
and especially when you feel like you have, because I had strong finishes in my early years, so I felt like I didn't have to lose that. It wasn't like, oh, my opponent was just better than me. It was my opponent played better than me, and that's like a narrow distinction, but it's pretty important.
It's really hard. A lot of the top cut guys can just take worlds. What I mean? Yeah.
Oh yes. If someone has a hot day, if someone makes a few good reads or gets a few good rolls, like they can definitely win worlds. And so like Yeah, like Pokemon is a game where like I would say honestly the better player doesn't always win, and sometimes the player who plays better doesn't always win either. So it can be frustrating. And so like I think part of like why I'm better now is like it's funny because I think in order to understand my best season, you actually have to look at my worst one, which is 2013, which was I got 25th at Worlds. It's the only year I lost 3 games at Worlds ever in Swiss out of the 6 years that I played. And so for me, like I just come off of my 2012 season, and I'd formed some bad ideas in my mind. I looked at my team, and I had Executor on the team, right? And it was very, very anti-metagame, and what I looked at the team, and rather than saying, okay, Wolf, you found an innovative way to use like standard Pokemon, which are like Cresselia and Heatran, you found a really innovative way to do that. Like use the best quote best Pokemon, some of the best Pokemon in the format, and you just like use them well, and you were like creative with that. Instead of looking at that, which I think is like what actually contributed to my success, I said, I won because I used Executor, and I'm just so creative, and I'm the best. And so in my 2013 team, I used Registeel, Hippowdon, Magmar, like Gliscor. None of these Pokemon have really ever been used at the World Championships. Hippowdon has seen some usage, but like almost none. And that was like back in 2008 or 2009. I've forgotten. And so like and like the whole year I had this mentality that like I am winning because I'm creative, because I'm super creative, and it didn't work. And so I think like a big part of my growth is taking a step back and saying like, okay, if you actually want to get better at this game, you're gonna have to look at the way the game actually is, rather than the way you want to believe it is. And that's a narrow distinction, but like yeah, exactly. Because like I wanted to believe that I was the best because I was super creative, but I had this result. I had this nice 25th staring at me that said, you lost, like despite the fact that you believed so hard in what you thought was true. And
it's like, the movie story versus like actual like achievement.
Exactly. And that's okay, that's also really interesting you bring that up, because I think also just like going back really quickly, and I'm so sorry I'm talking so much, but like
no, it's great.
Back in 2012 when I was going into the finals, I like my mentality was bad. Like I didn't prepare very much for the matchup. That wasn't really a mentality thing. It was just like I didn't have my people who were around me who like would help me. And I was like so excited to be in the finals. But I remember going into the finals and thinking, Wolf, like this is such a great story. Like this is like think about this. Ray knocked you out last year. He was the 2-time world champion. Now you're back. Now you're in the finals. Like now you get the chance at redemption, and like you can show that like you've come so far and all this stuff. And I wrote the script for myself. And then Ray bopped me. And I think that's like really significant, because this year when I went into the finals, I wasn't thinking about the story. I was thinking, and this is actually like I think a really important part of my mentality going in this year was that whenever things were challenging, whenever I had tough matchups or good opponents or like high pressure situations, I thought like the thought that went through my head over and over and over again was, you want to be world champion, so earn it. Like if you actually want to say that you're the best in the world, you're not going to be able to coast through this. Like you have to actually put in the work, like be smart, like be better than you were a minute ago, like get smarter, play better. And like earn this. Like it's like you aren't, this isn't your right. You don't like, so what? I like, this is my 6th year at the world championships, and like this is my 2nd time in finals. Like I don't like, nobody owes me the right to be world champion. Pokemon the game doesn't owe it to me because I put in more time than my opponent. You know,
best is gonna get it.
Exactly. So like you have to actually earn it, and I think that's like so basically, long story short, like I think mentality and mindset have improved a lot over the past 4 years.
Right, but at the same time, I think a lot of people will say, and I'm sure you even agree with this, that I mean, when you're young or you're inexperienced or you don't have as much experience as you do now, you think it's the classic young versus old. Like,
yes,
parents think their kids are pretentious and silly, and parents learn, and then the kids think their parents are like dumb and they're like not being creative. It's the same thing. It's the same thing in Pokemon. Like,
yes,
everybody, like I think a lot of what happens in especially in esports, but also in real life sports, but especially in esports, is that the large majority of people who watch the sport actually don't understand the sport with the nuance.
Oh, absolutely.
That,
yeah.
Like, the core 10% or even less do. You know what I mean? That's why some people, I'm sure people, everybody who's listening has had an experience like this, where you're watching something on Twitch, like a stream or something, and like one of your friends is like, oh man, that's amazing. And then everybody else is just like, what even happened? I just want to see, Kyogre water spout and kill them. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to see that happen.
Yes.
And so I think a lot of times, like, the narrative can be skewed. Like, a lot of attention is always paid at the end of the season to the composition of the teams in a negative way. Like, actually, I was looking at the top cut teams this time around, especially in the top 8, and there's actually a lot of variation compared to previous years. But like, I know 2 years ago there was like 8 Pokemon. And
Yeah, I was actually last year, 2015. There was like the top cut team was an archetype called Chalk, and out of the top 8, I think it was 7 of the top 8 had some variant of that, or not, maybe not that much, but it was a lot of the same Pokemon.
Yeah, and like for me, like,
oh, sorry, I knocked my headphones out. 1 sec.
Oh no, it's all good.
Stupid. Okay, I'm back. Sorry.
No, it's okay. For me, like, that is, and on the one hand, yeah, there is something to be said about that in terms of like Pokemon's responsibility to mix up the meta in a way. But there's something to that. But I think that a lot of the criticism about it comes from the audience's unwillingness to really look at those team archetypes and see how you're, like you were saying, you had some innovative use of Cresselia. You know what I mean? And
yes.
Even though Cresselia is a standard Pokemon in the meta right now, or more so at the time, but it's still a little bit now. Like,
yes.
Like, you're using that Pokemon in an innovative way, and there's ways to appreciate the way people are playing and the difference in skill that, like, somebody like me who's never competed, right? Like, you know, I'm not awful at battling, and I teach people about battling, but I don't need to be a master to do that. And if I walked in and I came to the table with a team just like your team that you took to Worlds, there's so much difference between what I'm going to be trying to do than what you're going to be trying to do, and that's the thing that I think a lot of people don't see.
I agree completely, and I also think that this year is a really good year to kind of look at that, because for so much of the year, I mean, I'm sure you've seen some of the pictures of, it would be like a top cut of a regional, like Virginia Regionals, for example, and it would be the same team like 8 times, like literally 8 times. This year, throughout the season, we saw very little diversity for the most part, because there was an archetype called Big Six. Yeah, it was Groudon, Smeargle, Kangaskhan, Salamence, Xerneas, and Talonflame, and then the Talonflame slot would switch out to other Pokemon, but it was not very diverse, and people said, this metagame is dumb, this metagame is stupid, like, everyone uses the same Pokemon, it's all luck, right? But then if you look at the top cut of Worlds, and if you look at, like, what my team and the team that, like, me and my friends Marcus and Barish and Brendan Zhang, the teams that, like, the team that we brought, it doesn't, like, it doesn't have any of those Pokemon. It doesn't have any of the Pokemon of the standard Big Six team, and also, like, it does a really good job of minimizing luck. So, like, just because a metagame isn't, sometimes a metagame looks non-diverse just because it isn't fully developed, you know? And I think that's part of what's cool about Pokemon. It is the concept of the metagame, you know, the game within the game, what people are using, you know? Yeah. Because the more dominant a team, like, the thing is, Pokemon, there's only 6 Pokemon on a team, and so the more dominant a team is, the more, like, the better a counter can perform, right? So, like, if every single team is the same thing, if you bring, like, if it's you and 99 other people and they all have the exact same team, if you bring a counter to that, you're going to blow through everybody, especially if your counter is, like, really solid. And so sometimes I think that, like, when Pokemon doesn't look very diverse in terms of Pokemon choices, I think it's partially just because the metagame hasn't developed enough to find Pokemon that can handle that archetype, but also not be bad overall, you know? Because, like, sometimes you find very specific things that work only in niche matchups, but you don't want them elsewhere. But I think, because Pokemon is, like, pretty diverse as a game, like, you can normally find, like, something that, like, is not bad and is also very, very good versus, like, the things that are super popular. It's just, like, it's hard to find them sometimes, you know?
Right. And it's cool, like I don't know, like, that's, I think, what kind of separates people who are showing up with the team they read on Reddit versus, like, you know, you know, you've been talking about this change from being, like, all about, you know, the great romance of winning a championship with, you know, not top tier Pokemon.
Yes.
So now having that sort of way of thinking, and you have a team that does carry, like, the most, like, half the team is, like, the top tier dudes, right?
Yes.
You know, all those guys.
Rayquaza, Kyogre, of course, yeah.
Yeah, but then you also, that way of thinking ends up with, you have, like, Raichu on your team.
Exactly, and Raichu, like, funnily enough, it's if I could, like, name an MVP of the team, I would definitely say Raichu. Like, Raichu was incredible.
Matches that I saw, at least.
Yes.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
He dominates. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, that's what's cool. Like, you know, like, especially because, like, talking about Raichu just super fast, like, throughout the season, nobody looked at Raichu. They said Raichu, and they would use max speed, max attack, and they'd use Volt Tackle and Focus Sash, which I always thought was ridiculous because whenever you Volt Tackle, you lose your Focus Sash. Right. And, like, nobody thought of Raichu as a defensive thing, and that's part of why Pokemon is so cool as a game, right? Because these Pokemon that people are like, okay, this is a Raichu. Like, this is what it does. We know what it does. Maybe it'll be annoying with Encore. Maybe it'll be annoying with, like, I don't know, Fake Out. Maybe it can do damage to my Kyogre with Volt Switch. You have that option of saying, I'm going to take this Pokemon that's traditionally kind of like a glass cannon, not even glass cannon, like a glass, like, water gun, like, support Pokemon, and I'm going to make it bulky, and I'm going to make it stick around, and I'm going to give it tools to support the team with speed control. I'm going to disincentivize my opponents to attack it by using Endeavor, because if they can't KO it in one hit, they're going to be taking a lot, like whatever they do, they're going to be taking right back with Endeavor. And also, like, you can use it for positioning and not damage with Volt Switch. Like, and you can also use it for, like, just to position, like, your other Pokemon with Fake Out. Like, there's so much depth in this Pokemon that nobody looked at twice, you know? And that's so cool to me, the fact that, like, we can do that in Pokemon, you know? And if Raichu was super bulky throughout the season, like, if my set had been standard, you could go and you could say, I'm going to make this Raichu super offensive. And so people are going to be like, oh, my Kyogre doesn't have to be afraid of this. And then bang, it gets hit with a Volt Tackle and gets, like, takes a lot of damage. Exactly. So, yeah, I'm geeking out. But I think Pokemon's really cool as a game, yeah.
I mean, even just getting into the depth of one Pokemon, it should show people, like, there's room for Seijin Park every year. You know what I mean? There's room for that Follow Me Pachirisu every single year. Like, and that's sort of like the key. I think that way of thinking separates the men from the boys in the competitive world. Like, you can be great at battling and you can be as critical. Like, you know, I mean, this is a thing that's a lot more. I don't know how in your face this is, but in your personal life. But as somebody who plays a lot of Pokemon online in front of a big audience of people who get to write whatever they want in total anonymity, you know, there's certainly a lot that people have to say about, like, how I play.
Yes,
and I think that if you think about it, like, the right way to play is only one half of the equation.
Right.
You have you know, team construction. You have bringing guys like Raichu, looking at every single Pokemon possible instead of just taking the ones. But then there's also, like, things that people don't even really think about that much outside of the people who actually battle. Things like just team selection going in. Like, out of your 6, who do you take? Exactly. It's like a big choice. And I think that's really interesting. I think that's the stuff that people don't really get to think about. But I want to go back to talking about, you were talking about your friends who all sort of took a similar team to Worlds this year. What role does, like, having some close friends who are also, like, top cut pros have? Like, what in your journey as the champ? Like,
absolutely, yeah. And that's, like, so I think was when you think about, like, having, like, good friends who are, like, you're super close with but who are also very good, it's always this constant fear of, like, are we gonna have to play? Like, are we gonna have to knock each other out? And I think what's cool about Pokemon, at least in my experience, is, like, at the end of the day, there's almost never any hard feelings. You know, like, in this tournament, I had to knock out my best friend, Marcus Statter, who's, like, we talk literally every single day. Like, and he's in Germany, so, like, it's not like, you know, we, like, make do with time zones. Like, we talked, like, we built the team together, like, we practiced together. I stayed in his hotel room, like.
It totally shows, like, even, like, in the broadcast, people were like, oh my god, these guys are like buds. They're, like, sporting. Yeah.
Yes, and, like. And it was also cool, so going through the tournament with Marcus, like, it was cool because, like, we were using the same team, so we'd go up to each other between rounds before top cut matches, and we'd say, hey, like, who are you playing against next round? And they, you know, I'd be like, oh, I'm playing, like, this guy, and, like, I know this is about his team, and he's like, okay, do you have a plan? Like, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, I don't know, like, what about this? And he's like, oh, but if you do that, what if he does this? You know, so, like, being able to, like, it's cool to, like, help each other, like work through matchups and, like, talk, like, make plans and, like work together to help each other to succeed. And that was, like, a really awesome experience. And also, like, friends are also super important because, like, you know, we didn't get a lunch break, and I remember the second day of the tournament, it was like I kind of went into, like, my, like, a very, very, very focused state, and
survival
like
mode.
I don't even know what it was. Like, I looked at my watch and it's like, okay, it's 1:30, and then I looked at my watch and it was like 9:30 p.m. and I was like, I haven't eaten. And so having people like my friend David, like, ran and got, like, Marcus and I were still in the tournament. We are so hungry, and like, having, like, David ran and, like, got us pizza, which was, like, super cool. $10 pizza, what a ripoff! It was
San Fran is an entire city of $10.
Yeah, and we were in a hotel as well, so it was like the markup on the markup. So, like, having friends to support, having friends to talk through matchups, and also just, like, you can't win every tournament, so having people there for you that, like, make it more about more than just the tournament itself, you know, like, about saying, okay, maybe I didn't do as well, because that's what happened to me at Nationals, you know, like, I went 5 wins, 4 losses, which is my worst performance at any tournament ever at Nationals, but it was still a really rewarding experience because I got to play that role of support. I got to watch my friends Michael and Aaron and Grant and Trey, like, I got to help them go really deep, and I got to
a little bit, and
well, talk them through the matchups. Like, do you need any food? I don't think I got anybody food, but I would have if they needed it, you know. So, like, I don't know, like, and then afterwards, you know, like, you can be happy for them, you know, you can say, okay, I didn't do as well as I would have liked, but, like, I've loved watching you succeed, and I've loved watching, like, you grow and, like, you play, and, like, I'm you know, like, I'm just happy to be here with you because, you know, it's cool because the community, like, we only see each other, like, for a few days out of every year, but, like, it never feels like anything changes, you know, like, it's like we have the same old jokes, you know, I mean, and we make new ones, of course, but it's like, it's just such, like, that's why tournaments are so much fun.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing with YouTubers. Everybody always thinks we're all friends, and we are friends, but it's like we work. Like,
you're busy.
Yeah, 18-hour days.
Yeah.
And so whenever we go to a con or something like that, that's like our money time. That's like
Yes.
that's our friendship time.
Exactly, yeah, and that's part of why like I recommend for like people to get into the scene if they're interested, because like not only is like Pokemon such a great game, and like not only do I think that like by trying to understand it you can learn a lot about like yourself and like about like life in general, and that's like those are big statements I know, but that's what I believe. But also just like the people, and it's cool to have these experiences, especially with like international players, like I was hanging out with the Japanese players and like with Korean players, and like I was talking to like Seijun and Shoma, and like the night after I won, and it was so cool to like
cool dudes, yeah,
they're great guys, like, and they're so smart, but like we don't speak the same language, so it's so hard to like it's so hard and so rewarding, and it's like such a cool experience to say, I know that you're a genius and we are having trouble communicating, but like we are gonna get through it, and like we are gonna figure it out, and we're gonna talk, and we're gonna figure out like what we're trying to say, and like we have to have
common
people,
language of Pokemon,
exactly, yeah, and it's cheesy, but that's how I feel,
Dude, that's the song from X and Y that made everybody cry.
Really?
That's literally like what that song is all about. They put all the lyrics in all the different languages so you could all be united.
That's so funny. Wow. Okay, I like that a lot.
Yeah. And how crazy is it that you faced your best friend in such a high bracket?
Exactly, yeah, and it, like honestly, I'm so glad we didn't, because we originally thought we were going to play in top 8, and like there's a big prize difference between top 8 and top 4 because you don't get the invitation back to the next year. So right. I'm really glad that we played when we did, and I like at first I was like, oh, Marcus, like I'm sorry we had to play in top 4, but he was like, he thinks that he was like, I think it's the best possible situation because he was like, if we played in finals, then
he didn't take the win from you, or you didn't take the win from him.
Exactly, and also like he was like he wanted the finals to be good, so like going in with the exact same team, it would just be dumb, we have like a mirror match in the finals where like because like it's dumb, like nothing.
Still
like
pretty high match between you guys.
It was, yeah, but like it also was like it was dumb, and like I wouldn't want people to think that like oh, one of them wasn't trying or like something, especially with finals.
Right. You met at the right time, and you had that great like ESPN love story going on. So
yes,
it was all good. It was all good.
Yes.
So I guess the last thing I have to ask you is just like how does this fit into the rest of your life? Because I know you're at, what are you at, VA Tech or something like that?
Yeah, Virginia Tech. That's right.
Yeah, and like what are you, like an engineering student or something like that?
Kind of. I'm doing data analytics. So it's like it's not engineering, but there's still there's like a lot of math and computer science.
So obviously there's some parallels between that and this other alter
ego, baby, yeah.
But I mean, how does that fit in? Like, where do you see your role in the Pokemon community in like 5 years, 10 years?
That's okay. That's a tough question. In terms of like my regular life, like I'm pretty busy. Like I'm an RA in my building. I do a cappella. Like I like both those. Really? Yeah. I sing in a group called Mixed Emotions. You should check them out. Us out if you're interested. In hearing us sing. But yeah, like other than that, I don't know. Like I like. It's cool for me because like people know me as like the Pokemon guy, and like that's like a good thing and a bad thing, right? Because like it's cool that people know me, but sometimes like I don't necessarily want like the associations or like the assumptions they make about me before they even know me, because like there is a certain stigma with like being a gamer and like playing games, and like I don't really care about that, but it's just like like it's like every once in a while, like if I introduce myself, hey guys, like I'm Wolf, like the response I either get is that your real name, or oh, you're the Pokemon guy, and like that doesn't really bother me. I think it's cool that people know, but it's definitely like it's interesting finding a balance because and like this is the first time it's felt a little different because I've honestly really loved going to these tournaments and being like a well-known player and signing autographs and taking pictures and like feeling like kind of like a celebrity for like a few days, and then I've actually really loved coming back and kind of feeling like I'm just like a part of the crowd, like I'm just like a regular guy, and I like that dichotomy because I don't know. I just think it's kind of cool that like it did feel like a secret life almost in a sense. But
dude, I'm right there with you. Believe me.
Yes, and like, but now since I won Worlds, like I was eating lunch the other day with some friends, and I signed a napkin. Like some guy came up to me and was like, "Will you sign this?" It was like a crappy like one-ply napkin, and I was like, "Yeah, sure, dude." But like, are you sure? Like, you want me to sign this? But so yeah, like I don't know. Like it's this time I definitely feel like a little bit more like a celebrity back on campus. Like I was in the paper. Not like a real celebrity, like nobody really cares, but
you got like a feature piece because you're the world champion.
Front page, exactly, yeah. So that was cool. But yeah, I mean, other than that, like I don't know, I just like I don't know, like I don't feel like my primary thing back at school is like, or like in my real life, it's like something I do, but it's not what defines me, and I really like that because
it's not really like a public side to data analytics.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a celeb of the field.
And I wouldn't want to be defined by like any one thing, like just in general, like even something as cool as Pokemon. So like I like I don't know. I like that. It gives you something to talk about. Like people don't always understand like everything that I say, but like that's fine. Like I don't talk in depth about it too much. And yeah, I also everyone back here is like super supportive when I go to tournaments. Like they maybe posters and like my whole building watch. Like I have videos of like I don't know, like maybe like 80 people out of like a 400-person building, like all crammed into this room watching the finals. So yeah, it's been like I don't know, the support has been crazy. And I've like I don't know, and
you're the RA too, which is great.
Exactly, yeah. So I told my residents I was away on official business. So I'd like to know what they thought when they heard that the official business was the Pokemon World Championships.
Yeah, and that you won.
Yes.
That's so good. That's so good. So okay, well, so here's like, do you ever see yourself like, because this is something that I was thinking about the other day, because I'm like almost 30 years old, right? That's pretty old for like a person in the Pokemon community, right? Like. In general, it's
we're getting older as a whole, I think. But
yeah, and I think that's good. But like, I feel like it's still weird. Like, there's still kind of like a taboo. Like there weren't, for example, you would expect that maybe somebody who is 35 years old, right? Mm-hmm. Pokemon World Championships have been around for like 10 years now, right?
Yeah, a little bit less. I think they started in 2008, so I think we've had maybe 8 or 9 World Championships.
Right. And so conceivably there could be a 35-year-old out there who's been involved in the community for the entirety of the World Championships. Mm-hmm. But you never see an older person. I rarely saw any older people competing at all.
That's right. Yeah, that's fair.
And I wonder what that means. Like, do you intend to compete as long as possible? Or do you feel that pressure of your own age catching up with you? I mean, you're still pretty young, but I mean, I'm sure there's other people that you've seen who are kind of getting a little older, and it seems maybe like they're feeling like they need to get out.
Yeah, people definitely retire. And so for me, I think right now, like I'm still really loving the game. Like I'm still really enjoying like the way that it is and trying to understand it better. So in the next few years, I definitely expect, or maybe next year is all I'll really say. I definitely intend to continue competing, but at some point, like I'll probably have a job. Like maybe I won't have as much time, or like maybe I won't want to travel as much. For the game, and at that point I think what I'll probably do is I'd like to go to commentary as long as there's still people in the scene who like I care about, because I don't think I could ever leave completely as long as like the people who are important to me are still like going to events, because those are that's the only times I'm gonna see these people, so it's important for me to stay involved, but I wouldn't be surprised at some point if I do retire, if I do say like, okay, like I've had enough for now, like I'm gonna step out of the scene for a bit and go to commentary, because that way I could still be involved, I could still hang out with people, but I wouldn't necessarily be playing,
Yeah, and who knows? You guys are like the first generation. I feel like you're maybe like one solid generation under me.
Yes.
Like you guys are like the first generation of people who can be Pokemon fans from childhood to adulthood, and
that's right.
No one ever thinks you're weird.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's hopeful. That's nice.
Yes.
That's exciting. So Wolf, where can people find you on the internet?
Oh yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/Wolfe Glick. It's WOLFEY Glick. It's just my name with a Y in between my first and last name.
That's what everybody refers to him as, by the way, in the entire community.
That's my screen name, Wolfie, which I think is a good screen name, because originally I was thinking like Super Wolf, and I'm so glad I didn't pick that.
Dude.
Yeah, good. Thank you, 10-year-old Wolf. Thank you. But yeah, other than that, I do a YouTube channel. So guys, if you're interested in learning more about VGC, if you want to just hear me like mess around a lot, I do I think I do a good mix of like serious content where I'm like, okay, this is what I'm thinking, like this is like how I'm like making my moves, this is like what I'm looking at when like playing the game. But I also do like fun stuff, like I do like VGC roulette matches, which are super fun. I did like a mono executor battle with Metronome, and I got locked out of my apartment, like, which is actually I think the best video I've ever made, where I just like I got locked out and I vlogged the whole thing, and for like a night. And so yeah, I do stuff like that. So I'm just having fun, I'm really enjoying YouTube. It's been just under 6 months at this point, so I'm still relatively like new to it. But if you want to like learn more about VGC, if you want to just see me be goofy, you can check me out on youtube.com/WolfeVGC.
Yeah, and we'll throw a link to that in the description, so if you guys just want to scroll down at the end of this video and just click on that, that'll take you right there. You can sub or whatever.
Do whatever, yeah. Yeah.
Hang out on the Wolfie channel.
Wolfie channel.
Yeah, the Wolf Chan. Great. Hey, thank you so much.
Thank you. No, this has been like honestly one of my favorite interviews I've done. This is really cool.
Yeah, it's really nice to talk and find out that these people that I've been seeing and thinking about for years are
real people.
Real people who are smart and positive, and they're trying to like do right by the community.
Yes.
It just feels good, and I hope that some people out there that are listening will take that leap. Go to a not even a regional. Just go to
a Premier Challenge.
Yeah, just go to a little thing somewhere. They're all online. You
check out the forums. Just play on Showdown. Like, do it. Why not?
Yeah, just go do that. Just try it. Try and build a team once in your life. You know what I mean?
Just once in your life, build a team.
Yeah, it's fun. It feels good. If you love Pokemon a lot, give it a try. VGC is super tight. It's something that I've really fallen in love with over the past couple of years. I've been such a big OU Smogon player for years.
That's where I started too, honestly.
Yeah. But VGC, I always was like, that's for losers. And then suddenly I try it, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so deep and crazy.
Yes.
So go forward with a song in your heart, listeners. But Wolf, thanks again for being around.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
We'll see you guys right back here tomorrow for the regular Dex podcast as scheduled. And to those of you who are watching this on YouTube, stay cool.
Stay cool.
Stay cool, you guys. We'll see you next time, guys. Bye.
Peace.